Somewhere, with someone on the job, everything we have is started. Somewhere, on some fertile acre, the plow knifes through soil that abounds in promise. And the farmer, although he plows alone, is not alone. His life is tied in with the lives of many others, of all of us who depend on him and on his mechanized labors. And he, in turn, depends on all of us. Somewhere on a lonely range, the earth trembles under the hooves of cattle on the move. And the man who rides the range alone, if he listens with vision, can hear in the rumble of the herd the beginnings of the rumble of distant machinery in the factories where others will finish the work he has begun. Somewhere, someone sets a blast to erupt rich ores of metal from stubborn rock, and sets men to work in smelter and in blast furnace, in mill and in factory. And thereafter, people, many interdependent people, come to fashion the products of human inventiveness from all the bounty of nature. Wheat. And to grow the wheat, it takes a farmer. From New York to Michigan, to Nebraska to Oregon, and from the Dakotas down through all the great grain belt, 1,000, 10,000, and 100,000 wheat farmers grow the finest of wheat. Raw material for industrial alcohols, for fine finishes. Sugar. And to grow sugar, the sugar farmer. In the bottomlands of Mississippi and the Everglades of Florida, on the Delta and in the Evangeline country, grows the sugar cane. Cane sugar, raw material for carbon and lampblack, for solvents. Cotton, and the farmer to grow the cotton. Raw material for fabrics and for lacquers and for plastics. In the Carolinas, in Georgia, Tennessee, and Arkansas, Alabama, throughout the Old South, and even in the Deep South, cotton still is king. In Texas, too, and now in California, there's a great snowy harvest, cartload by cartload and bale upon bale, as far as the eye can see. Cotton for fabrics and wool for fabrics. On the slopes of the Sierras, a sheep herder. He grazes his flock in the high, cool air that builds thicker, longer, finer, stronger fleeces on milling backs. Mohair goats roam the plains of Arizona, Texas, and New Mexico, where all the silken fleece is tempered by baking days and toughened by freezing nights. Fine fleece of the sheep flock and long stapled fleece of the mohair goats for fine upholstery. Tough hides for tough, durable leather, and it takes tough, durable men to ride the herds to grow those hides to harvest. From the Oxbow to the Laramie, all along the Red River and the Rio Grande, 1,000, 10,000 outflung herds. With sun and with wind, with rain and with sand as her tools, with heat and with cold, nature burnishes and strengthens hide and hair on the open range from Dodge City to the foothills of the western mountains. Perhaps there are jobs you never thought of as being an important part of the great American economy pattern. But every basic task is essential to the necessity and convenience of all in this blessed land of all of us. West or south, no matter where you go or what you are looking for, you'll find somebody working. Working as a part of the vast and intricate and interlocking network of production that leads the raw material to finished product. The turpentine barrel in Florida and in Georgia is the first link in an endless conveyor belt that winds its way from south or east to west and north, from Portland, Maine to Portland, Oregon. In the oil fields of all America, there is a man-made tree that grows, a deep-rooted tree that is to yield a strange assortment of fruits which will be soap and candles, paints and asphalts. From its roots, thousands of feet in the earth, the oil well rig brings forth a harvest of precious sap that is to become a polish and a lubricant and a coloring and a fuel. In the giant test tubes and apparatus of the refineries, the oil crudes here are cracked and distilled. Here are cleaned and purified. Here are separated and sorted into 100 basic materials for 1,000 interdependent industries and 1,000 times 1,000 interdependent workers, managers, and engineers. On the job, commanding great tools, from deep within the plentiful earth come the metal ores with which America is so richly blessed. Copper for bearings and copper for batteries. Copper for radiators and for electrical systems. Copper from Utah and Montana, from Michigan and Wyoming, from Colorado and New Mexico, from Idaho and Arizona and Nevada. And again, more of the red gold metal from Washington and Oregon. This red, powdery earth is rust. Call it iron ore, call it ferric oxide. It is the touchstone that has magically transformed a civilization. In the raw red earth of Hibbing on the Mesabi, the Clinton and Vermilion Ranges, steel has its beginnings. The mother of steel is iron. There is more than a ton of iron and steel in the car you drive. Several kinds of iron and more than 100 kinds of steel. And from the rusting earth come the ores that are the beginnings of all that rich harvest of metals born of iron and sired by the coal that is mated with iron to make steels of many kinds. Soft coal, hard coal, and the coke that comes from coal to bring steel into being. To purify and refine the steels, coal and coke. To harden steel for roller bearings and for starter motor assemblies, fine molybdenum. To toughen steel in precision parts, fine vanadium. To shape and to polish precise mechanical parts, crystalline quartz. For alloy steels, for stainless steel, for plating bumpers and ornamental trim, bright chromium. For the tiny filaments in electric light bulbs, tungsten. For storage batteries, for radiator assemblies, and for the Babbitt metal in engine bearings, pure lead. And even the more famously precious metal, gold. Any metal can be more precious than gold if it is the one metal needed at the time. Each metal may depend on one or more of the others for successful use. Copper and aluminum are precious in themselves. And all these ores for all these many metals call for many men to dig them from the earth and bring them forth. Any natural lack or artificial shortage may stop the entire economic parade. You may be a lumberjack teamed up in Washington or Maine, in Mississippi or in Michigan, in Florida or Georgia or East Texas, in the Paul Bunyan country or the empire of the Pacific Northwest. The trees you fell and the logs you drive make pulp for paper to blueprint the dreams that put 100,000 men to work on a new model and a new job. The way we do it in America takes a lot of different people working together in a lot of different places. As all rivulets and brooks flow to make the river, so all the wondrous products of forest and ranch, mine and farm flow together. On highways of steel, the many raw materials move contributions of every state in the Union. On highways of gravel and concrete, roll the basic supplies for the mills of industry. And on the high air lanes of the trackless skies, fly products to the factories for processing. In the textile mills of Pennsylvania, Connecticut, and the Carolinas, sheep wool and mohair are the beginnings of more interrelated jobs for men and for women. Spun by mechanical spiders into gleaming strands, cotton, sheep wool, and mohair are woven by incredibly precise mechanical fingers into luxury fabrics. Corn, the golden treasure of farmers in Iowa, Indiana, and Illinois, and corn of Kansas, Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio, and Nebraska. One way of changing corn into leather is on the sub-assembly line of the feeding lot, but a shorter way is through the magic of chemistry. Corn is now directly processed into the plastic ingredients of artificial leather.